Manchester United have just gotten rid of Erik ten Hag and a new manager has just been announced. So you'd expect a combination of players being unshackled from the previous manager and wanting to prove themselves to the incoming manager to give them plus 10 attributes across the board. Chelsea have a newfound groove and have only lost to the top two sides the whole season. Arsenal lost at the weekend, Manchester City lost, Aston Villa lost. This was their shot to make a big statement in the league standings. Everything pointed towards this match producing something very, very tasty. It did not. High intensity, sure, but lots of schoolboy bunching, poor decision making, and more. All that from two squads worth a combined £2 billion in player value. Hello, welcome back, hope you're doing well. Now, I usually do quite a good job of not hyping myself up too much when it comes to matches involving Manchester United, but this one seemed a little bit different. I grew up in an era where the Premier League was essentially Manchester United and Arsenal, and then Arsenal and Chelsea, and then Manchester United and Chelsea as the biggest teams in the league. So, as a United fan, I've got what you would think of as, the opposite of a soft spot for this fixture. Joke's on me, I guess. I forgot that Manchester United and Chelsea have played out to a draw 6 times in their last 9 Premier League clashes. 4 of them have been 1-1. That's what you call peak entertainment right there. But apart from the actual matches, there have been some interesting developments for both teams since we last spoke about them. So today I just wanted to touch on those developments while also touching on things about the match that I liked, some other Premier League updates, and some other good stuff. Look at Arsenal, now look at Chelsea. Goal difference, sure, but still. Let's start with Manchester United. The horrendous start to the season goes on for the Red Devils. After 10 matches played with 12 points, this is the worst start to a Premier League season in the history of Manchester United Football Club. Record breakers, man. Gone, but never forgotten. The legacy of Erik ten Hag. It lives on. The last time I made a video on Manchester United, it was following a loss to Tottenham Hotspur, where I think I did a pretty good job of avoiding a mental collapse. I say this because I don't think that my tears made their way into the final cut of the eventual video. That's the power of editing right there. You'll never know if they did. It was a game versus West Ham that was essentially the final nail in the coffin for Ten Hag. And yeah, the eventual penalty that led to that demise wasn't warranted in my mind, but to me that hardly mattered because this was a troubled West Ham side that was not good at that point in time at all. United had more than enough opportunities to come away from that game with the full 3 points, but they didn't. The teams are also 1 point apart right now, so there's that. I'm going to save some of my more detailed thoughts on the whole Manchester United situation with Erik ten Hag and Ruben Amorim and all that. I'd rather, put it onto pen and paper than just spewing it all out in a very incoherent way. But what I will say is that, I think we all saw Ten Hag being fired, right? That was coming for a very long time. Even the FA Cup could not justify it. Not when other Dutch managers have been sacked for being objectively better. United, however, have Ruud van Nistelrooy to look to for guidance in these trying times as a caretaker. A club legend for sure, and I'm pretty sure that that's pretty advantageous for the upper management. It's going to make this whole transition period go down in a little bit more of a palatable fashion for the management, for the fans, probably for the players too. And I know that we haven't heard official word about whether he will stay on at the club when Amorim joins. And Amorim himself has stated that he will be bringing on a number of his own trusted staff, so all of that is up in the air. I'm going to be completely honest here and say that, listen, I love Ruud van Nistelrooy, obviously I do, but he was at the forefront of basically everything that went wrong for Manchester United this season. Maybe he wasn't making the direct decisions, the final decisions, but he was there. They made a very big deal about him coming in and replacing Benny McCarthy, who obviously is my guy. Blackburn 2007, we won't forget. But I don't see any compelling reason for United to keep Van Nistelrooy on for the long term, obviously going into the new management system. But I guess we'll see. And from one struggling club to a formerly struggling club, we have Chelsea. Chelsea have kind of been proving everyone wrong over the course of the season. They're not exactly the world beaters that I think they would like themselves to be, given the amount of money that's spent to get them where they currently are. But they're winning games, they're playing really well, they're playing entertaining football as well. What's there to hate on? Cole Palmer is almost as good as Chris Wood, which in 2024 is not a compliment to take lightly. With hard work and dedication, he might get there.
What?
Nicholas Jackson is scoring goals, Wesley Fofana has been impressive, Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia are both fit and obviously technically gifted. It seems that Maresca really just needed time to work with his guys because they're flourishing. In the league, in most recent games at least, they've only lost to Liverpool, and in that game, they were fantastic. Plus, the ref looked like he was flipping a coin whenever he decided to make a decision, so there's that. Anyway, coming into this match versus United, Chelsea rested all their top guys in the Carabao Cup in preparation for the weekend, as opposed to Manchester United, who put out a full-strength squad in midweek. Now, Leicester may not have put out a full-strength squad themselves, and plus, Van Nistelrooy was probably trying to make a case for himself to stay on, which leads us to the match in question. Right from the start, the match lived up to its lofty expectations. Neither team succeeded in imposing themselves as the dominant force. It was a pretty scrappy game from the start. There was a lot of, bunching that you'd see in a schoolboy match going on, and, it was just kind of messy. Chelsea were looking to get Cole Palmer on the ball as much as possible. Not hard to imagine why. The only problem was that he was getting double teamed, sometimes even triple teamed whenever he got anywhere near the ball, which is somewhat problematic when you're building an attack. Regardless, he showed his brilliance. There was a moment with just some supreme control by him towards the end of the first half where, on a first touch, he takes both Casemiro and Marcus Rashford out the game by just pushing it into open space and chasing. The only reason that attack collapsed into nothing is that Manuel Ugarte had to push him over before he got to the perimeter of the box. He got carded for that. Just a straight baller this guy is. United were actually double teaming across the pitch all game. Not super successfully, mind you, and that left a lot of holes for Chelsea to exploit, which they didn't do very successfully either. Malo Gusto, for example, found himself with some really good space quite a few times in some good shooting positions too, but Chelsea never really managed to take advantage of that. My main takeaway from that first half was that it was just kind of like the same old Manchester United. Good opportunities, but no bite. The front three of Alejandro Garnacho, Rashford, and Højlund, they seemed good, like from the eye test, the optics, but really what it came down to was a dangerous attack from a purely potential perspective. Højlund himself was getting on the ball for counters more than maybe he expected. And the reason I say that is because, I don't know, he kind of seemed confused when it came to where to offload the ball when he was leading the counter charge. Twice I counted in the first half, he had the option of releasing Garnacho's pace. The first time he waited too long and Garnacho was offsides. The second time he waited too long and he was tackled from behind by Nicholas Jackson, of all people. Some 9-on-9 action there. Rashford again and again didn't do very much apart from one or two moments. One being hitting the post, the second being driving to the line and almost cutting it back. Both times in the first half. And apart from the two goals, there was more of the same in the second half. A well-won penalty by Højlund and a well-taken pen by Bruno, even Peaches couldn't bear to watch. But not much else in front of goal from the boys in red. Moises Caicedo's goal was obviously by far and away the highlight of the match. Manchester United's lead wasn't really active for more than 3 minutes before Chelsea found themselves with an attacking corner. Typical corner chaos ensues and Caicedo watches the ball float all the way to him before giving it laces. A very hard move to pull off and a beautiful strike. Overall, the game was lackluster in the grand scheme of things. Garnacho was just, he was just awful. The decision making on this guy, ever since he broke into the team, has consistently been poor, and he hasn't shown any signs of improvement at all. I've excused him because he's still pretty young, he's only 20 years old, and that's the reason why I'll continue to excuse him. But all of this just further reinforces that a club with the ambition of Manchester United really shouldn't have a guy like current Garnacho as a starter. We keep doing this, and before we know it, he's going to be 27 years old and still referred to as the kid with bags of potential just waiting to unleash it, like someone else we know, and like someone who came before him. For the sake of his own development, he needs a senior player that actually performs in front of him, at the very least competing with him. He will make over 30 appearances for Manchester United in this current season, and I think that pretty much tells you all you really need to know. At one point, he lost the ball and fails to track back late in the game, leading to a Chelsea break, and the only reason that was shut down was because old man Casemiro had to bust a gut to get back and make a foul on Pedro Neto. In the reverse angle of the challenge, you can still see Garnacho strolling back still in the opposition's half, and when Casemiro stands up to berate him, he kind of just doesn't really bat an eyelash. And even though I spoke about Rasmus Højlund being a bit slow to release Garnacho and some of his other players over the first half, Garnacho did that way more and his infringements were way worse. Except the only difference was that Garnacho wasn't even trying to find any of his teammates at all. He's just so selfish, and he tries the extraordinary far more than he should. To his credit, he almost did the extraordinary again with a near miss half volley near the end, but it went too high. Of course, when you try those things and they work out, you should deservedly be called a hero, but when you don't, we're left with the current situation. And by the way, Fernandes was there for him to find with the right ball. If he bothered to look, that is. Martinez should have been sent off for his challenge on Cole Palmer. You could say it was unintentional and that he was slipping, which I actually agree with. You know, I think that's true. But it's high. He made clear contact there, and that could have ended very, very badly for Palmer. This goes for a lot of challenges that happened in this match. I felt as though the ref was applying the if he dies mentality across the full 90. So many card-worthy challenges were just allowed to go unpunished. Meanwhile, we all know that in any other given match for any other given ref, the results and, you know, the actual calls that happen, they could be inconsistently different, such as the case in the Premier League right now, I guess. Mazraoui was my man of the match for Manchester United. Also the signing of the season, for whatever that's worth, I guess. He was having some great 1-2s, he was lively in attack and defense, all from the left. I can see what Ten Hag was trying to do by playing him as a 10 in the Europa League match, I think it was, 2 weeks ago. There was some semblance of a playmaker there. Either that, or maybe, you know, Ten Hag just knew that his time was up and he was just seeing if he could do something creative, you know, spice things up a little bit. Bruno again outworked the entire team and put his heart and soul into it. I honestly have no clue how this guy hasn't picked up more knocks and injuries with the amount of effort that he consistently puts in and, you know, with the weight of the entire team press that he carries on his back. For Chelsea, I would say Caicedo was my pick for their man of the match. Of course, he's the one that's gotten the goal, but he was also distributing and winning the ball really well. I guess if we discard last season and only look at him regarding his Brighton form before he made that big move, the fact that he's come right, it makes sense. Don't get me wrong, he's not worth 100 million plus. I doubt that he'll ever be. I don't think any players are, but he's doing well. He's putting in the work. Not sure if the same can be said about Enzo Fernandez. He did squat after coming on. I've not watched all of Chelsea's games this season, but from the ones that I've watched, he hasn't played super well, and from the ones that I haven't, almost all the time I'm hearing things about how the team plays so much better without him. You get this stat over here showing the winning percentage when he's not on the pitch versus when he is, and it gives you a pretty telling picture on what his contributions are. Even if this is somewhat misleading, he's got some explaining to do. Pedro Neto was another player that I was very impressed with from that game. I thought he drew some really advantageous fouls for Chelsea and was running up and down like a madman. Tough days for Mykhailo Mudryk, right? Now, Chelsea have had a pretty rough run of games lately. Manchester United, Liverpool, Newcastle United, Brighton, even Forest. And things aren't going to get any easier. Arsenal, Spurs, Aston Villa, all within the next month. But despite any of that, given how the past 2 years have gone, so long as Chelsea don't play like they did against Manchester United, even despite that list of fixtures that looks pretty daunting, if I were a Chelsea fan, I'd be pretty encouraged by the prospects of the team, because I think that they'll be able to come away from some of those matches with some positive results, if not most of them. The Arsenal match will be very interesting to watch. Both teams are somehow level on points, and Arsenal really need this more than Chelsea do. Points tally aside, you would think that just based on historical performances in the league the past couple of years that Arsenal are title contenders far more than Chelsea are. I'm not going to go ahead and insinuate that Chelsea are title contenders, and I don't think any of you watching this will too. So should we really think the same for Arsenal right now? You know, 7 points off the league leaders. A lot of people don't think that that's a significant gap, especially at this point of the season. Only what, like 11 games in? I think it is, but you know what? Maybe it's best for us to just reserve our judgment for a later point in the season. But I will say that if Arsenal keep performing like the way they did against Newcastle, then their hopes are going to dwindle very quickly. Perhaps they'll take solace in the fact that City are dropping points and feeling the effects of no Rodri too. It's an interesting time to watch all of this unfold. When it comes to Manchester United, it looks like we're all pretty much back to square one, so maybe not so interesting. Yay. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys thought about the match, about Manchester United, about Chelsea, about all that good stuff. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.